Internet, my name is Lave, and courtesy of Odeon Cinemas, I watched Fight Club on the big screen, which I never got to do when it was first released back in 1999 because I was too young. In fact, my brother bought me this on DVD and I've watched it over and over again, so I was jumping at the chance to see it on the big screen. Well done, Odeon. This one stars Edward Norton as a neurotic investigator working for a large car company who's suffering from insomnia, who one day meets Tyler Durden, a charismatic but reckless soap salesman played by Brad Pitt, who has strong opinions on capitalism and consumerism, and together they form an underground fight club where other lost males beat each other up to feel alive, which escalates into something much, much bigger. So this film is actually based on a book by Chuck Palahniuk and is directed by the one and only David Fincher, who at that time was predominantly known for directing music videos. He had done a few feature films like Alien 3, which we won't talk about, and The Game, and his most famous film, the brutal and grisly Seven, which I love. And Fight Club has a similar dark tone to it, but it's also got a lot more humour in it. Twisted humour for sure, but David Fincher is definitely having fun with this one in his exploration of masculinity. And Edward Norton is brilliant as this beta male, this everyday guy living a mundane and unfulfilled life. He finds solace in support groups, especially one for testicular cancer survivors full of men who have literally been stripped of their manhood, which temporarily cures his insomnia until Marla Singer shows up, a troubled girl played by Helena Bonham Carter, who is at her emo best, perfectly cast and perfectly performed. Her introduction sets off his anxiety and insomnia again until he meets Tyler, played by Brad Pitt, who is all sorts of good in this film. He's got this unconventional charisma to him, he's unhinged but extremely resourceful. This is easily one of his best performances and best characters. But the real star of the show, unquestionably for me, is David Fincher. On the surface, you might look at this film and think, oh, it's just a film about boys beating up boys and blah blah blah. But actually I think this film is his smartest, and I think it's his most layered in terms of the themes. I love how ironic the film is. There's irony spread throughout this film. For example, consumerism is a big deal in this film. Tyler Durden despises advertising and how it manipulates people into buying stuff they don't need. Yet this film is full of product placements from Apple to BMW to Cadillac and Krispy Kremes. Furthermore, Tyler thinks that these big corporations turn people into mindless monkeys, and what does he go and do? He turns his Fight Club into a franchise, gets more people to join his cause, and turns them into mindless monkeys.
Space monkey.
But my favourite example of the irony in the film is the casting of Brad Pitt himself, who obviously looks like Brad Pitt. He looks like an underwear model, and then Edward Norton's character says,
"That what a man looks like?"
Now this makes complete sense to anyone who's seen the film right the way to the end, but I don't want to give away any spoilers to those who haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, honestly, what are you doing in your life? You should totally watch Fight Club. It's awesome. What I will say though is this film is one of those that you immediately want to watch again to maybe scrutinise it, and it does hold up to the scrutiny for the most part, but you also pick up on so many things layered into the film on a second viewing and on a third viewing. It happened to me. I saw this film, must have been like 18 years ago, and I still picked up on things last night when I watched it. For example, the members of the Fight Club get given side missions where members are told to start a fight with a stranger and lose on purpose. One of them starts a fight with this priest, which is hilarious, and later on I noticed that he actually joins the cause. There's also the moment where Brad Pitt delivers his famous line where he says,
I've been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't.
And if you look closely to who he says it to, it's Jared Leto, who is now an established movie and rock star. I was going to include that in the irony section, but I don't think 30 Seconds to Mars was as big as it is now, so it's just an example of foreshadowing, I guess. In terms of the visuals and the cinematography, David Fincher brings his usual craftsmanship and eye for detail to the table, and what I really love about this bonus features disc that I've got, it also talks about just the filmmaking process and little things that they did along the way. It taught me something about editing as well. There is a sequence in this where they shot it and then they improved upon it by just adding some fade to blacks, which really stuck with me. They did it to emphasize the fact that the character is kind of in and out of consciousness. There's plenty of other behind the scenes material and nuggets of trivia in there, like the fact that they used leftover CG breath from Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic in this cold scene. And speaking of the CG, there's some really dynamic CG shots in there which maybe aren't rendered up to today's standards, but then this wasn't a CG heavy movie. They were great for its time and they do integrate well with the live action shots, and I would argue that it actually adds to that layer of artificiality. Add to that a kick-ass soundtrack which includes the Pixies' Where Is My Mind, which I still associate with that film. It's iconic and synonymous with it. Honestly, if this film was released today, I still think it would be as relevant and as cool as it was 18 years ago. So that's my thoughts on Fight Club, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I know I'm breaking the first two rules of Fight Club here, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are of the film. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely try and check it out. I'll guarantee you a kick-ass time. It's brilliant. A big shout out to Odeon as well for showing this film in the cinemas again. I hope they do more of that. They showed a preview or a screening of Alien recently, which was awesome. I'd never seen that on the big screen. So yeah, keep them coming, Odeon. I'll be there. As always, thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like and don't forget to share the Lave. Subscribe.